We are now approaching the bottom of the cat, and at the bottom of the cat we have what's called a gentle curve. Notice there aren't any pinholes inside the curve. So the question is, what do we do about this, and where do we start it? We start it where there aren't any pinholes. I finished this particular pin, which is in the middle, and I've gone to the outside. So my worker is on the outside here. I'd like to look now at the working diagram so we can figure out what to do next. You're probably going to say, but there's no bottom of the cat on the working diagram. We have his ear and we have his tail, but we do have a gentle curve, and that's what this is here. So as we're coming down the cat, turn it so you can see that you're coming down the cat. We've done the pin that was in the middle of the thread that went across, the sewing that went across. We are now located right here, but this is just an outside pair. So we're going to do an outside pair here. We're going to come back in through here. We go, well, what do we do now? Well, you have to do a twist. Notice there is also a twist here. So we are going to do a twist on the worker, and we're going to lay it aside. We're going to take the pair that was on the side of our trail, and it becomes the worker. This is just an outside. We don't have a connection here. So this is just a pin under 4 here. We come back in with the worker. We go through the old worker that was put aside. We set aside the new worker. We pick up the old worker, go back across, do a pin under 4, come back up, set that one aside, pick up the worker. So let's try that on the actual cat. So on the cat, remember, I'm now here on the outside, and these are the trail. So I want to go through the trail, turn it just a little bit, go through the trail with a cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross. What's extremely important here is the tensioning. Since we don't have that many pins, we're going to have to only tension against the pins we do have. This is the worker. Oh, excuse me. You probably will do the same thing. Before you get to the last stitch, put a twist on it. Now, go through that last pair. This is the worker. It gets a twist, and we put it aside, and we tension. We take the new worker, the one that was on the edge. We work through the pairs, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross. We're ready to do a pin under 4. So of course we have to tension. Tension everything to make it look pretty. Put a twist on the one pair, put an extra twist on the outside pair. Do the stitch, cross, twist, and do a pin under 4. I place the pin in the pinhole. I can go back through, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross. I finished all the way across. Notice I'm caught on a pin here. As you're working, you have to make sure that your threads are not entangled upon a pin. It causes all sorts of loops and ruins your lace. So now the worker is all the way out. It picks up the worker we set aside. We go through it with the cloth stitch. We put a twist on the worker we're setting aside. We make sure it's tensioned well. We pick up the new worker and work back to the outside edge again. It's a cloth stitch going back over. Cross, twist, cross. Put the extra twist. By now, I'm sure your extra twist is just automatic. An extra twist on the outside pair and do a double stitch. Tension and put in the pin. I put the pin in the pinhole, and I'd like to show you that pinhole on the working diagram. Sorry, not the working diagram, but on the pricking. We just put this pin in place. So we're going to go back to the center again and come back out. The next time we come out, we actually sew into that pinhole because we created that pinhole when we were coming up. So we're going to sew into that pinhole. We are right here. We're going to go back into the inside. So now we have the cat. We're on the outside edge. Around the pin, I make sure that I tension it very nicely. Turn my pillow so it's facing me in a better position and go into the center. A cross twist, cross all the way into the center. In the center, we have the pair that we set aside. We pick up that pair, do a cloth stitch through it, tension, put a twist on that pair and set it aside. You want to try and keep the line so it stays and doesn't get too narrow. If you get too narrow, it doesn't look like, it means you've pulled it too tightly and you lose the nice shape. So I'm going to take the new working pair and I'm going to go back in and go back to the left-hand side. Go back to the outside again. Put the extra twist. Now think about this. We want to have how many pairs on the inside? So the last pair, we continue and do the normal stitch. There should be 2 twists on the outside pair, 1 twist on the worker, cross, twist, cross, twist. That will give us a nice smooth edge going up to finish the cat. But the trail has 4 pairs in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 worker. That means this pair needs to be dropped. So we're going to take this pair, which is the outside pair, and we're going to sew it into the pinhole, which is at the very base of the cat. So we are sewing the outside pair into this pinhole right here. I place my crochet hook into that pinhole. I pick up the thread which is on the top and I pull it through the pinhole to create a loop. I place my other bobbin through the loop. And since I'm coming from this direction, I'm going to go in from the top. And I take the bobbin through the loop. Let's smooth it down. This is the pair that I'm going to drop. And once we are out of this area, we will be able to finish it and hide it into the trail. We'll hide it in this trail in here. But we can continue with these other threads. So to continue with the other threads, let's turn him so he's in a better direction, so he's facing me. And I have 1 pair, which would be the pair that would normally be the worker, and it's still the worker. This is in the trail 2, 3, 4. So, and then of course we have this pair, which was the worker that we set aside. So let's take the worker through the trail. Cross stitch through number 1, cross stitch through number 2, cross stitch through number 3, and each time we do this, in the past, we are continuing what we did before. We also cloth stitch through the worker we set aside. Now we have a new worker to set aside. Twist it and take the new worker back through. Cloth stitch back through, cloth stitch number 2, cloth stitch number 3. And if you look at the worker here, you'll see that there is a pin there. So I need to now connect this worker that I just used with the pin. So I'm going to cross it 2 times to get to that pin. And then I'm going to sew into that pinhole. So the crochet hook is in the pinhole. It picks up the thread that was on the top, creates a loop, and into that loop you're going to put the other bobbin to create the sewing. Now we're actually working the other direction, so it makes sense to turn the pillow around. I always find I turn the pillow in the direction that I want to most easily work, so the pillow gets turned around and around. To continue working, we need to put 2 twists, and that's going to be coming back this direction. Remember how I said keep it close to the other side because it always stretches? So now we will cloth stitch back through the trail until we get to the center. Again, we pick up that pair and do a cloth stitch through it. Tension, try to make it pretty. There still aren't any pinholes there, so I put another twist, put aside the pair, and work to the outside again. You continue doing that until you get to where there are pinholes that you can use. If you don't have any pinholes, you can't do it. So you have to keep going. I'm now at a point where I can show you how to do around the pin for a 3-prong sewing. So let's pull the pin back up. This was the old-fashioned one, the one without the magic thread. So it's very important that I still have the right number of twists. I needed 1, 2, 3, 4 twists. I need to go around the pin and tighten it up and put 4 twists to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4 twists to go back. Try to keep your pin so it's directly upright. Otherwise you'll have it leaning in the wrong direction. Turn it so it goes back and go back through the trail again with doing your cloth stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So where's number 4? Remember, number 4 was the worker that you set aside that had the twist on it. So tension yourself, pick up the worker that's number 4, and work through it. Do you have a pinhole? Maybe, almost. Let's give it a close look and see what we have there. I'm trying to find a way to move things aside so I can show you where we are. We are on the right-hand side of the trail. We're on this side of the trail. But if you look, we are right here. We are not down here because we still have this sewing to go across. So we're here. So this still has no pin, so it's still a gentle curve. we're going to go out, do this particular line, and the next time we come back out we can do a sewing. But this is still the gentle curve. You can't finish the gentle curve until you have something on both sides to sew into. So I'm going to put everything back where it belongs, because as you can see it's all out of order, so I could show you things. But in order to go back, I would need to move everything back in place. And I've just gone through I went through the pair that had the twist on it, that was the working pair. So this pair here is the working pair, and you can see it's moving the pin. So this is the pair that just came over. This is the pair I'm going to put the twist on and put aside. I'm going to take the next pair and go back through the trail. Cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross. And when I'm on that side, I now have the ability to put 2 twists, 1, 2 twists, and to put a pin in this piece on the other side. So I placed a pin in the middle of that line. I put 2 twists on my threads, and I place them around the pin. I tighten up the 2 twists, I do 2 more twists, and I go back through my trail again. Cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross. I pick up the pair I put aside, cross, twist, cross, and I tension. And I have a sigh of relief because I'm finally at the end of that gentle curve. And I'm now going to sew this one into this particular pin. But remember, it's 2 twists on the worker and then sew into that pin. So I have the crochet hook in the pinhole. I need to pick up the upper thread and pull it through the pinhole. I have a loop. I put the second bobbin through the loop and do the sewing. So the bobbin is through the loop. I pull the loop in, I sew, and I tension everything. So it's up to you now to keep going. Keep going on your trail until you come to this point where, as you can see, it's a 3-prong sewing. And we'll talk about how you do a 3-prong sewing. So complete a couple gentle loops, and I'll meet you back at the first 3-prong sewing.